What is this new paradigm that's being discussed here? What is a soul initiation?
Our soul, along this journey of life, has had these experiences where certain parts have fractured off. One part of soul initiation is really reclaiming these parts. So a lot of my personal development work was amazing and necessary to get to a certain stage. And then this soul initiation has become more an embodied experience. A lot of what we do is kind of like Jungian psychology through ritual or through embodied experiences. To allow the energies to be felt in the body rather than just understood through the mind.
They hear the word elevate consciousness a lot, but we're also really inviting people not just to elevate, but to deepen as well. So a lot of the journey is down into the places where we don't really want to go in this culture and this society. Intersexuality and money is deeply connected to fear in the body. So these traumas, these blocks can at least be given some room to breathe and be expressed together as men. And then when we see that everyone can support us in that process, and there's no turning away, hiding, and wow, that for me is like, that's the place that I want to be born into. Yeah.
Welcome, brothers. It's good to have you all here.
Thank you.
This is our first Emergence Brotherhood podcast episode. And I suppose the aim here today is to just have a conversation with each other and share some messages to brothers that we feel need to hear this message. You guys, all of us, have been on quite a profound journey with this. And today we're going to be exploring the pinnacle of men's work, I suppose, beyond just personal development stuff. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting discussion, I'm sure. So let's start with a little bit about Emergence Brotherhood. Like, what is it? Overview. How would you describe Emergence Brotherhood to somebody who has no idea what it is?
Sure. So I'll pick up on the words you used, the pinnacle of men's work. Thank you. I like that. We'll take that. Yeah, I feel like what Emergence is really it's soul initiation for male bodies. So a lot of men's work out there is focusing on masculinity and how to become more manly or to embrace those parts, which is beautiful and necessary. And we incorporate that as part of our journey. But we also want to bring wholeness to men. So that incorporates the inner child work, that's including the feminine, and also some of the more taboo subjects which aren't done so much with other men's work around sexuality, around money, and around purpose, soul purpose. So it's a week-long retreat, and a lot of other men's retreats are 3-4 days, and it really encompasses what it means to be a soul in a male body. It's a little synopsis for you.
Beautiful. I think that's a good starting point. And now, before we dig in any further, I think it would be good to just introduce ourselves so everybody knows who they're listening to as well and can put a name to a voice. So I'll go first. My name's Callum, and I'm a participant in the Emergence Brotherhood world. And yeah, I'm just here today having a discussion with these brothers, and looking forward to learning much more about the emergent stuff.
You're more than just a participant, Callum.
Yeah.
Come on, but I love that, the humility. But yeah, you're returning as well, coming back for your third journey with Emergence. So, and also our youngest brother who's come through the journey. So appreciating your tech wizardry to support us to get the message out there through holding this. Really appreciate it, brother. So my name's Robbie Griffin, and I am founder and facilitator of Emergence. And yeah, deeply appreciative of the work we're doing at Emergence. It's made such a difference to my life, and it's growing rapidly, and this ripple effect's really touching many hearts of many brothers. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm Graham Goff, and I first discovered this work, this syllabus, in 2018 with Bruce Lyon in Prague, and have been journeying with the themes and what emerged from there ever since, and had the very good fortune to be asked by Robbie to join Emergence Brotherhood as a facilitator and a steward of this kind of work as well. So that's what I've been holding point for the last year and a half, almost now, it must be, bro, since we first joined up. And yeah, it's been a remarkable journey and trajectory to hold soul initiation work for men. And yeah, we have a little bit more of a longer history together as well, having met each other in a mystery school training, which is a 6-week unraveling and re-reveling of your deepest, truest self as well. And we really seek to imbue the work with that kind of transmission, that potency, that power, that freedom, and also that juice and aliveness as well, which I sometimes feel is a little bit missing from the men's work that's out there in the world, that's very preoccupied with the 4 archetypes and Iron John. It's beautiful and it serves a purpose, but we're really asking, okay, what's next? What comes after that? And that's the mystery of what we're dancing in and what we're holding and what's holding us.
Beautiful.
Mm.
And I am Gorby Anand, and I've done lots of different types of men's work, like you described, and met Robbie last summer, and somewhere along the way felt something in him that drew me to first initiation, where I met Graham, and just, yeah, found so much brotherhood here, purpose, balance, peace, power, freedom. And yeah, really I'm here today just to support my brothers in getting the message out and to call more brothers in, you know. This is a type of work that I would have looked at and said, what the fuck am I doing here, you know? And I'm still here, so. Yeah.
Still asking that question.
Still ask that question every now and again, but every time I spend time with all of you together, I just feel my soul light up on the inside. So grateful to be here.
Yeah, I think there's something unique around that with doing the men's work. I work a lot in mixed sex containers, and there's some perks to working with women, you know? There's like, especially within sexuality. So often I see the brothers that come to the men's work are really devoted to the path. You know, there's like, they're wanting to crack through these layers of what's getting in the way, especially with other men. I know I had a lot of blocks or a lot of competition, a lot of pieces running within me, which, really didn't allow me to open up fully and trust my brothers. So again, this work has allowed me to drop a lot of the walls and the blocks and the barriers and allow men into my life more. And that's supported me to like feel more alive and co-create. I think that's one of the biggest turn-ons. So like I used to be this lone wolf that would do it all alone and like try and figure out and like achieve by myself. And now like relaxing, trusting, letting go of control and seeing each other rise and shine together is like deeply nourishing for my soul.
It's funny that you say that, because my experience of mixed containers was more or less the same. It was almost like my experience didn't involve men. It just involved women working through that wounding, whatever that is, working through my mother wound or whatever. And then when I did men's work, it was like, oh shit, I really deeply am here for the purpose of working through this deep unconscious patterning and wounding that I never see, and all of a sudden I'm seeing it everywhere. It's all mirrors in the room telling me, like, this is your work now. You have to find a way to be in love, actually, with men. And that can mean so many different things to so many different people. But for me, it meant actually feeling comfortable within myself just to be even in the same physical space, or to have the intimacy or the closeness with another man, where my nervous system didn't just kind of overwhelm itself and fry, that there's a whole 50% of the world now that I can open my heart to and be with, in connection, in collaboration. Like, brother, I never could have done something like this with you 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It just wouldn't have happened. And now there's so much eros. Actually, I was listening to an interview with Colin Farrell the other day, and he was talking about his relationship with Brendan Gleeson. They did In Bruges together, and that recent film that I can't remember the name of, but he was actually talking about how there's this kind of eros, this passion that moves between them to collaborate and produce like the most powerful and potent kind of work that they can together. And I really I'm so grateful for that dimension, like in my life, creativity that comes through, that pours through. And yeah, it's a resource that comes from a deep place. It's not effort. It's not efforting to get somewhere. It's not like the old world. It's new. It's like, wow, I can take more and more of this. Yeah.
It's a whole new paradigm, right? Like we're like a few minutes into this discussion, and we've already spoken about like soul initiation, for example, feeling these higher energies. And for example, me coming into this, I was thinking, oh, this is just personal development work, like, or an evolution of it. And after going through it, like, I developed as a person, but I wouldn't describe it as personal development work. So for the people listening in who perhaps haven't been in a container like this, may not be familiar with the idea of men's work, perhaps the idea of soul initiation is just like, what what is a soul initiation? So I'd like to open the conversation up here and give those men some clarity, and to some help give them an understanding of what is this new paradigm that's being discussed here, beyond the doing, being the lone wolf, doing all the hard work, like going it alone, to like, let's gather as a community of men and get in touch with ourselves, like go through a soul initiation. What is a soul initiation? Like,
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you. I remember hearing this phrase of like an artist is a soul that survived childhood. And I think it's got some truth to it, and what is an artist, is it just creative expression? It doesn't have to be specifically to a certain painter or writer or anything, but just, I think really this creative expression. So what I see is our soul along this journey of life has had these experiences where certain parts have fractured off, where it's become too much for the nervous system, too much to hold. And the wisdom of the body actually creates a reaction, an innate response to the situation. And I know this has been my journey. I have then, during this work, have been really reclaiming these parts and allowing my body and my nervous system to feel relaxed enough to allow these parts that have fractured off to come back, which has then supported me to become more whole again. So really, I see this journey of this one part of soul initiation is really reclaiming these parts. And I really, truly believe that my soul chose my vessel with my parents and my socioeconomic environment. So I had those experiences. I had it when I was a child, which felt overwhelming, and I can be in blame and make, poor me situation out of it, the victim of my circumstances. Or I can see the gifts that they gave me because my psyche, my being adapted. And those are now some of the actual gifts that I've got to share in this world. They've fine-tuned me in a certain way where I can actually utilize them to transmit certain gifts, which are unique to my being from my upbringing. So that's definitely one aspect of it. And the soul initiation for me is really like this becoming whole again. So a lot of my personal development work was amazing and necessary to get to a certain stage. And then this soul initiation has become more an embodied experience. A lot of what we do is kind of like Jungian psychology through ritual or through embodied experiences. to allow the energies to be felt in the body rather than just understood through the mind.
Yeah, so the way I see it is that most of us have the experience that we're born into this world in ways in which they don't really serve the unfolding of our, what I would call a true self. So it's us, the invincible, electric kind of spirit of just being who you are at your core. So everything is possible. There's no probability. It's just you are who you are in every waking and walking moment. But often what happens is that we come into the environment that's not, I mean, a hospital is not an environment for a soul to come into. If you get my meaning, it's clinical, it's cold, and also so is pregnancy and delivery of the baby for so many people. And that's the world that we're born into. And then our parents as well are products of this environment. So it's difficult for them, they do their best. But we also inherit what comes from them. And we learn to get a version of what we need, which is love. Like love is overflowing as a child, ideally, but we go searching for it. And then what happens is we develop strategies and we develop structures and we develop ways of being that get us a version of what we want, but not the wholeness of what we want, just a fragment, a slither, a longing of something that we need. And really what we're doing with this, the first half of the retreat, is we're actually helping people to get access actually to that longing, to take them through all those structures and those obstacles that not only stop them from feeling love or meeting love, but meeting each other as well. And then once we've got that piece down, then that's when the real magic happens. Because then like the deepest part of you has the availability and the space to actually be with other people. Like feeling is the very core of soul, the way that I feel it. No questions, no self-awareness, just like literally falling into the space with each other. And it's I just want to say something. I hear the word elevate consciousness a lot, but we're also really inviting people not just to elevate, but to deepen as well. So a lot of the journey is down into the places where we don't really want to go in this culture and this society. Intersexuality and money is deeply connected to fear in the body. So these traumas, these blocks can at least be given some room to breathe and be expressed together as men. And then when we see that everyone can support us in that process, and there's no turning away, hiding, and wow, that for me is like, that's the place that I want to be born into.
Yeah, off the back of that, the beginning of the retreat is around the deconstruction and the descent journey. To see what's getting in the way of our soul or our higher self really shining forth. And there's this deep, innate masculine wound that runs through the psyche around proving oneself, or providing. And it comes from like tribal times when the greatest gift a man could do for his tribe was sacrifice his life, be the sacrificial lamb. And it's still in the psyche now. And we still kind of, as men, well, not even men, as in masculine trait, it still runs there. And really, our intention at emergence is to relax, to surrender, to fall in together, knowing there's nothing that we need to do or prove. And the greatest gift we can do now as men is to allow our essence to shine forth. So the strategies that we've been, from our personality, that we've put in there to be successful in the world, they've served us so far. But I know, speaking from my own experience of creating success in the world, it's fucking empty. Creating lots of money in business, it didn't make me feel happy like I thought it was going to. It's almost laughable in hindsight to see that my conditioning from my societal upbringing thought if I get all these things, then I will be happy. The more I got, the more anxiety I had about losing stuff, and the more distractions I had from really like pulling back the layers to allow my soul, we're using this word a lot, but my soul to shine forth. My essence. It's really like what's behind all the shit, really what's going on, and do I have the courage to keep pulling stuff back, to expose myself, and especially around other men, where there can be old things that I had this story running around weakness. I cannot show weakness. And, to me, vulnerability was weakness. And I'd do anything to avoid being seen as weak. And what it creates is a lot of distance from other people because I didn't really let them in. And I was always, no, I've got this, I'm fine, I'm okay. And after a while, people stop asking me, do I need help? Do I want support? No, he's always right, he's got it, it's fine. And actually that created a lot of separation. So now I see the strength it takes to be vulnerable, to crack my heart open, to ask for support, ask for help, to say when I'm struggling. And all it creates is more connection. People want to be able to support each other, want to share love through supporting each other. So it's a great gift to be able to be together as men in emergence, and to, when the pieces come up, know that we're in a space where it's welcome to really bring that. And the chances are it's not just me that's got it, which is the story I'll be running before, and no one else has got it, and I'm this, that, and the other. It's like me bring it, other brothers, and then have the courage. And this is the beauty of group containers, is that we can do it together. We can learn as a group. It's like mycelium network. We're like, one's popping up with something, and the other one's, yeah, me too. And it's deepening quicker because we're doing it together. So, yeah, the intention of emergence is to bring ourselves and know that, I hear this phrase a lot, all is welcome, but it really is like, how courageous can I be by exposing the parts of myself that I don't really want to expose, the parts I'm maybe not proud of, and that have been keeping me separate all this time, to realize that actually it's a story. It's just another reason. It's just another egoic construct to protect myself from really bringing myself, because I'm terrified of putting myself out there and being alienated or being ousted from the tribe.
Yeah, it's like one of my mentors said, it's these defense mechanisms, these strategies were really intelligent solutions at one point in your life, but now it's just a kind of an insanity that we still use them, because there's nothing, it doesn't protect us from anything. It actually keeps us from the very thing that we're longing for the most, which is connection and feeling. I almost think to myself, I don't know that there's a purpose or a point to living if it's not about feeling. And I'm just noticing through this work is how much more I can feel, because I was somebody who really buried feelings very deep down, and now that I can share these feelings with people, it's completely changed my life. It's like I would strongly suggest to anyone that if it's a question of feeling, the only sensible strategy, not the one that comes automatically, but the one that you choose consciously, is to really come in and feel those feelings. And I think it was, I can't remember, the famous psychologist said, you can't heal what you can't feel. I think it was John Bradshaw. And I think this is a really good mantra, actually, for Emergence Brotherhood, is we're always inviting feeling. So somebody's up here, they've got powerful perspective, great consciousness, a really exciting brain. It's still okay, but bring it through the body, communicate through your body, like show us and let us feel you, as much as it is about how cleverly you can package the idea that you came up with. It still, if you can ground it and bring it through the body. And I think that's important, is that we also acknowledge that people are built differently as well. But you and I are very different, and I think that's actually part of the magic. We're both feeling people, but the way that we feel is different. The way that we express is different. And I think that also gives so much more permission in the field for men to not only see the one that they resonate with the most, but also to see, okay, this one has some medicine for me. So with you, I always found like you've got this kind of inspirational drive. My experience of you is you're a great at the front leader. You take risks, you've got fire, passionate heart. And with me, it was always like more at the back, kind of holding the guys who are a little bit more on the edge. And because that was always the place that I was. And even in social situations, I'll be the guy who's my personality takes me a little bit further out in the structure of the group, and if I'm not talking for a while, I might be somewhere in the corner of the room all of a sudden. So really, I experience this as two people who know actually quite a lot about our personal selves, and about how personal selves also need space to breathe and to grow in an environment as well. So this is, I think, also a really key part of emergence, because I have been in transformational spaces where actually the personal self is not really particularly well understood. So the part of us that will do everything it can to sabotage the new story that's starting to come through, the new tale, the heroic Graham or the heroic Robbie. So we're also like very mindful and conscious of making sure that everyone is in the space, that we're being contained, then that everyone is at least getting a note of what they need to hear to be able to move forward and to really like lean into their feelings and into soul initiation as well.
There's 2 points you picked up on there, right? Yeah. Polarity I'll come back to, which you talked into, but also this, the more you feel, the more you heal. I know from my experience, I got brought up in a family where emotional intelligence was not modelled. There was a lot of alcoholism, and I followed down that path myself. And I would drink and take drugs and avoid feelings, and I wasn't aware that's why I was taking drugs or drinking. I thought I was rewarding myself for working hard or doing whatever my story was. And the hole just kept on getting deeper and deeper, and I kept going harder and harder. And it took me to the depths of this emptiness and loneliness for me to really like see that I had to change. So my emotional intelligence, my emotional vocabulary when I first started this journey was about 4 words really. Normally how intoxicated I was or wasn't. So just speaking into that, like there's a place that I found really challenging. Like feelings were something else avoided. I never got seen how it was, never had that kind of expression modeled to me. So I was lost in the world of feelings. So just speaking to any brothers who might be in that struggle or might be leaning into drink or drugs, I think it's a mechanism, same as a lot of the other coping strategies that people use. Leaning into those substances can support, and when we're really willing and wanting change, then there is hope as well. It is something that can be learned and can be, with time and attention, can be nurtured and really allow us to increase this emotional intelligence. And then the polarity, I mean, we do play out a beautiful polarity. There's like these different archetypes that we hold, which again, as you beautifully shared, allows people to see things from different perspectives and hear things and feel things from different perspectives. And that's a lot of the work we do, is actually going into all of these different polarities that live within us and allowing, where is it where maybe I haven't given much love or attention, which part of me it's been shut down. We work a lot with like anima and animas, so the young feminine within me, like where was I told that boys don't cry or real men do this or whatever it was, which allowed to now give this place space to mature, to be given love, to be felt. So again, this wholeness, this soul that we are, can be embraced, and the expression that can come through that, because there's not the place that I'm outsourcing to a partner. It's more a place that, like even from yourself and I, and from you brothers, there's parts within all you which I see, and I'm like, wow, I love the way they do that. And instead of the old part of me, like trying to compete with it, but instead now I drink the transmission of it. Same with for my case, females I'm relating with. It's like, okay, wow, I love the way she does that, and I can just be like googly eyed and like, she can do that for me. Or it's like that my inner sister, the feminine within me, is like, oh wow, I want to like take that transmission and like integrate it into my being. So this is the difference between like consciously being with another being, and like I would say word competition in a healthy way. It's like, oh wow, fuck, you're good at doing that. It's not like, okay, but it's like, oh, thank you for showing me, and I'll learn it and take it in as well as I can. So,
there's something really really beautiful about watching somebody shine as well, when you have that connection with them. And yeah, I notice how often in these spaces I just melt seeing a brother breaking through, or really bringing the gift, the flip side actually of the wound, like going deep and bringing out these qualities and this energy that has been so suppressed. And I really feel that there's a space actually for everyone to really bring those pieces and those parts that they've buried. I remember I was always the boy who wanted to be picked first at football. And I probably wasn't good enough to be picked first either. But you know, when you're a little boy, you don't think so rationally. And I'd already had a strong urge to be wanted. So really, it's like, it just felt like these spaces create so many possibilities for these kind of wounds to be triggered. But what we're also doing is giving people the tools and the containment to actually go back into some of those experiences and go a little bit deeper, to bring a sense of completion and a sense of wholeness. And because they have that archetypal perspective embodied, then it also gives a little bit of the solution, or the energy that can match and meet the energy of the depression or the sadness or whatever. So they can actually go just that little step further than they were able to as a child before they loop back into the pattern. So it's like, again, it creates, instead of the probability of being caught in this trap, this prison, it's like jailbreak. It's like freedom. You look at the door and you realize that the key's actually been in the door the whole time. And now it's just your opportunity to go out into the world and start to really experience it. So this whole thing I don't want to say what we created it, because it almost feels like we're holding something that's always been there, but we've just been able to see and identify it. It feels like we're holding the possibility for people to have experiences that can actually on a level resolve a lot of that, or at least put it in order, the past. Give it its place. We're all products of our past. It's important that we acknowledge what is, that what happened, but also to be able to step out into this world that, if I even take out the cultural or the civilizational lens, it's crying out for us to recognize and notice it and to be a part of it. And I know for me, that's a deep longing to be connected to this planet in a way where I treat it like my home, like I treat my body like it's my home, where I treat my friends and my brothers like their home.
I love this piece you're saying around being picked last or first, or whatever the longing is. And the container creates these situations which will invoke these old emotions and these old experiences. And as I mentioned earlier, where like the parts of the soul fracture off, and now revisiting them with the tools that people already have and that we also add to their tool belt to rewrite the story. So that part that's not felt safe, or the nervous system's been too activated for us to stay in our body, then those experiences can come up and we can rewrite them, because the brother can be there and can hold us with love. And the older part that now knows what it knows can then hold the younger part within and can allow us to feel what was felt and rewrite our reaction of either running or fighting or freezing or whatever it was. And it's an amazing opportunity just to then be able to feel the rest and relaxation of our nervous system, allow that part to be welcomed back. A lot of it's like homecoming, welcoming part the backs, welcome back the parts which have left us.
It's beautiful, because what that invokes in me is this sense of perhaps like I'll wait my whole life to be picked first, but there's only one person who can actually pick me first, and that's me. And that's it. That sounds simple, and actually when you embody the solution, it's really simple. But to embody the solution takes so much focus and courage and energy. And really what we're trying to do is stabilize that perspective, that embodied perspective, so that everyone can take that out into the world. ideally with a group of brothers who are also embodying that. And don't get me wrong, I don't always embody that. Like, I still struggle from time to time. I still do my work. It's still a constant meeting new parts and new pieces, new parts of me or old parts of me that maybe aren't on board quite as much as my adult consciousness would like them to be. And that's also something that we explore very deeply in the beginning of the retreat, actually, is that relationship between the adult and the child consciousness too, and really starting to rewrite the relationship that we have so deeply programmed from our relationship with our fathers as well. And we don't seek to make fathers wrong or bad in this either. Fathers hold their place, they hold an important post and position in our psyche and in our experiences. So we also try to take time to celebrate fatherhood, our fathers, the best that they could do, and also like stepping into a new kind of fatherhood that also welcomes the mother, welcomes the sister, welcomes the brother, all that we are, everything.
I want to touch on something Robbie mentioned there around polarity, the inner feminine. And I'm sure there's men at home who are hearing this for the first time or have heard snippets of this across social media, different places, and love to hear your perspective on what this is, like.
Yeah, I can riff off that one quickly. I mean, there's many beautiful gifts in working within my own inner feminine. And when I first kind of heard this concept, I was like, what? It was out there. And spending, I don't know, about 8 years now in this dance with my own inner feminine. And to start off with, I had a coach, and they were like, oh yeah, this, you're masculine and you're feminine. It was all very foreign to me. And then they would like encourage me to take my inner feminine out on dates. I was like, all right, mate. But after a while, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And to start off with, it was really challenging. Like, my inner feminine was kind of frozen and hadn't had any space or time and didn't know what she wanted to do. And then after a while, it kind of, the relationship started to harbor something different, and there was a bit more freedom and joy, and this part that had been so shut down started to actually come a bit more on board online. And I mean, one of the gifts of working with my own inner feminine is around relating. I connect with female beings, and what I found a lot of what I was doing was projecting on the female. So whatever part of me that's not been loved, that isn't developed, I then outsource. And living or relating from a place of polarity has got so much shelf life. It's like, it's basically, I'm drinking from someone else's cup because mine's not full. So I'm looking for something that I don't have within me. And ideally, in the world of relating, it would be a case that, I feel whole. And that's always, as Graham's just touched on that, it's always a journey. I'm never going to complete this. But I'm connecting from a place where I've got my inner union. So my inner marriage is there to a degree. We might be going through some separation at times or whatever else is going on in the journey, but there's acknowledgement. So really, when I'm entering into a relationship, there's 4 of us. There's my inner feminine, my inner masculine, her inner feminine, her inner masculine. And if I'm suddenly like just obsessed with the being outside of me and forgetting about my own inner feminine and my own feminine needs, and again, this labeling can be very controversial to some beings, but it's not meant with any ill intent, but just simply to allow us to understand different parts within ourselves. So if suddenly I'm obsessed with this woman outside of me, then my own inner feminine's like, well, what about me? Like my tenderness, my heart, my joy of dance or whatever it is. So the polarity, I mean, I think it's like Jungian psychology works a lot with polarity, because there's a real gift in it. And again, as I shared earlier, it's like, can I take a transmission of this thing which I'm seeing outside, which I'm either repulsed from or I'm attracted to? and either have huge strength. It's a huge like wake up for me. If it's someone or something is like, oh no, I'm pushing it away. No, that's not me. I don't want anything to do with that. Or he's this, or he's that, or whatever the story is. They're too much of something. It's an amazing opportunity for me. Okay, what's going on? What am I rejecting within myself? Or what part do I actually seek from outside? So we are in these containers, we're mirrors for each other the whole time. There'll be brothers in these containers which trigger me, which I'm like, I don't want to be here because of him. And there'll be some other brothers I'm like, wow, I feel inferior because he's so amazing. All these stories will come up. And we bring this into consciousness, and we bring it into people's awareness and allow us to like, okay, instead of making them wrong, how can I turn it back within and actually see what the gift is within this scenario, which is creating some internal disharmony.
Yeah, I think that feminine energy is something actually that the kind of the more the being, the sensual, the playful, it's something that we all have a lot of. I suspect, and I know I did when we're in childhood, and actually to be close or to be intimate, like and in connection with your male friends, it's something that comes quite naturally, as it does, with your female friends as well. But then I remember distinctly a point where all of a sudden that energy wasn't so welcome. It was, and it was mainly coming from top down, so from the older children, or even my parents were sort of like squeezing that out a little bit of my day to day, until eventually, like, I got the idea that okay, I'm not allowed to be like that with men. And then as time goes on, it starts to come out a little bit in things like banter. I mean, like, banter is kind of like very personality level, body mind level flirting between men, basically. But actually now it's a little bit, we're in these containers where it's more comfortable to like come and like, put my hand on your leg and talk to you, and to be kind of like open with you. And it's not such a constriction. Like I can go here in life and I can do this, but I can't do that. If ever there's a sense that you can't do something, like there's an internal decision that you've made as a result of an external input that says, okay, I can't do that. But if you have the freedom to choose, then that's your soul speaking. Only your soul understands that you have the freedom to choose. And you know what? You might not want to put your hand on Gorby's leg, but until you have the inner freedom and the choice to make that decision, then you're still trapped in the structure of your problem. I remember very distinctly when I first came into contact with my inner feminine, with a transformational container, and all these images are flashing up of this woman that I've dreamt about my whole life, that I would fantasize about. I would imagine she was always in my dreams, in the car next to me, driving Route 66, and then it suddenly dawned on me that she was me. That she was that part of me that I had hidden and I had caged and I had deeply longed for in other women. She even looked like my type, and she dressed like my type and she acted like my type. And I was like, no, hold on, that's me. That's just everything that I've suppressed and hidden from the world. And she's bubbling up through my unconscious and she wants to be here. So I try where possible, if I need to invite her to be here. And even better than that, she's just here with me as a part of me, integrated into the whole. So maybe I don't even need to make the distinctions anymore. She's just with me. She's a part of me. I am who I am.
And another piece around the feminine, often we kind of label feelings, emotions as feminine. So yeah, because real men don't cry and all these things that kind of came in when I was young anyway. So to be able to open up to our feelings and to be able to express them, especially around other men, where this kind of competition came in around, like almost like bravado, and say the banter, to keep ourselves like distant and not show vulnerability. So in these spaces, it's encouraged, to express from these places, express from the body, express from feelings. And it's challenging. It's really challenging to allow this energy to come through and to be witnessed in that. I feel like that's some of the greatest gifts. I say, like this masculine wound of having to prove ourselves, but actually the greatest gift we can do is shine forth our essence and what's really happening within. And this can be seen as a feminine trait. I think it's a real gift. It's a real gift of the work that we're doing.
Talking of vulnerability, you hinted that there was a time in your life where maybe that wasn't your go-to. Tell me a little bit more about what it was like before and how difficult it was the first time you shared vulnerability.
What it was like before. I mean, I thought I was doing great. I thought I'm great. I'm got all this and all that and all these external gratifications which give me status and power and they're an aspect of life. But really, like the depth of my being was like closed down, sad, and these were all distractions from what was really bubbling underneath the surface. So basically it led to kind of superficial relationships, really what it was. It's kind of like transactional relationships. And transitional as well. People would come and go and it wouldn't be maybe deep and solid. But often it was like, I was hanging out with people because we were in it, we were getting something out of each other. So that's how it was. And then the first time wow, terrifying. Like rewrite, now it's almost like my kink to like, okay, can I expose myself? Where is my edges to vulnerability? And really to me, vulnerability is live in the moment. Like I've got lots of, experiences which I can share, which some people might be like, wow, but that's kind of vulnerability that I've worked with and worked through or working through still. But really it's like that thing that comes up in the moment when I'm cracking, which can be initiated from someone outside sharing their experience, which then can come and support me to find something within me. So the first time, terrifying, absolutely terrifying, like rewriting all my patterning, because I was doing everything I possibly, because otherwise my story was, if I didn't have myself, if I wasn't self-reliant, then I wouldn't survive. This is from my parents. There was a lot of emotional neglect when I was young. So I didn't know how to be around people. I didn't know how to actually open myself up and feel safe exposing myself. I had to hold myself. That's why I created so much success. It was actually, again, it was like a response to my childhood where I didn't feel safe. So I created all I could to keep on like building and building, but it's like armor. I was just putting up more and more layers of armor, more and more things that I was gathering to make me feel like I was successful. It was the classic story of this masculine wound that was running through the psyche. So stepping in, being terrified, and like feeling this aliveness in my being though, like being on this edge, like feeling every cell in my body like vibrating, because there's a deeper part of me that's like, that's cheering me on. It's like, yes, you're doing it. And I didn't know what I was doing, but it was like, I just knew that I just couldn't carry on like that. It just was so unsatisfying. So those transitions, those initial stepping stones, those watersheds are the hardest steps. And that's why I've got so many brothers out there who haven't stepped in yet. They see it and they're like, I'm sure there's a part of them that knows, like, wow, that could give me something in life different from what I've been doing for the last 20, 30, 40 plus years, which could support something new coming through in my life. But it's challenging to take that step.
I think for me, I remember how much I felt like I had to prove myself all the time, like constant proving. But I would also have to understand, okay, if I want to prove myself, then what do they want from me? How can I prove myself to that person that I'm worthy of their love and their desire to be wanted? And it was so pernicious that even when I first started my healing journey, which was typical of me because it was drinking plant medicines, but in spaces where there wasn't much support, there wasn't much one-to-one, there wasn't much actual connection between the people. The connection was created as a result of the plant medicine, but it was never really created before. So in a way, I was still doing the same thing because I wasn't connecting with people and being vulnerable unless I had this massive amount of plant medicine in my body. So yeah, I noticed even when we would do the shares afterwards that I would be thinking, okay, what can I say that would make the greatest impact, that would probably get the most amount of admiration. And then I had a really big sea change with that, where I started working on childhood sexual abuse wounding, and I went to a conscious sexuality container. And at the beginning, we all had to take a turn to come into the middle and share about why we were there. And it was the first time that I had shared with a group of people. This is 2016 in Australia, in Melbourne. I shared with everyone why I was there, and I could feel my little knees knocking and my voice trembling. And I was aware that I was crying, but I had my eyes closed because this was the first time I think I was really, truly, rawly vulnerable in the moment with my feelings with a group of people. And then when I opened my eyes, I saw almost every single person was crying. And then I was like, okay, but this is really like a blueprint for me. I don't have to prove myself anymore. Actually, I am enough. Like, and who I am in the moment is enough. That's my soul. That's what I'm here to bring. And that's what I bring here, or I seek to bring here in Emergence Brotherhood, is to bring the raw, alive version of me that's deeper than the conditioning, that's deeper than the programming, that's deeper in the part that wants to be wanted.
So I wanted to bring in like the toxic masculinity piece, because I'm aware that we've spoken a lot about vulnerability and like the inner feminine and all of this stuff. And I wanted to bring this up because when I leave the retreats, I've never felt more powerful and in my masculine than ever before. And I wanted to open the conversation as to how, by tapping into our inner child, being vulnerable, stepping into like the inner feminine, embracing it, how does that empower us as men? And yeah.
I get this quite a lot because I do hold a strong masculine energy. A lot of men are like, oh, like, how do I become more masculine? Which I understand is that there might be a piece that they're longing for, because often growing up, there's been this masculine energy modeled to us, which hasn't been very healthy or toxic, as you're saying. So a lot of the kind of energy that we perceive as masculine has been suppressed and repressed because it's not okay. I got brought up, as I mentioned, in an alcoholic family, and there's also violence there. So me, as a 6-year-old boy, used to hear my mum being hit in the room next door. And the first time I bust in there and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? I get told to get out. Like drunken, like, fuck off, get out. And I get out and I go in my room and I like don't know what to do. And I hear it again, like night after night, and I like almost go into a freeze response. I don't know what to do. And that led me to this place of avoiding conflict, becoming a nice guy. Because to me, conflict led to violence. That wasn't okay. So I'm grateful for some of the work we do within Emergence is around conflict. And I spent time, as Graham mentioned, at Haydn Temple in New Zealand, and we work with different energies. And on a Tuesday, it's Mars Day, which is the god of love and war. And we used to do something called conscious war. which allowed energies, not just through consciousness and talking around what the conflict is, but to move it through the body and allow the animal to come alive and rage and project and do it in a way where the energy is being moved in a healthy way. And it's beautiful setup, which is maybe for another conversation. But the learning I had is when I first heard the framing of what we were going to do, I was shaking and I wanted out of the room. I could feel myself like looking where the door was. It's crazy. And but I held myself, I listened, and then when I actually saw what was happening, my whole body started vibrating, like literally shaking, in a way where it was like, wow, all this energy that's been stuck inside me now has a way of being moved. So, because this is, I might have been the nice guy, but the rage and all the anger and all the things that I never said because I was avoiding conflict, were still stored in my body. And without having a way of actually moving them, then they will come out sideways, either in ailments, me being sick, or suddenly me losing my rag over something minute, because nothing to do with what's actually going on, but all the stuff that's like this boiling pot, which is coming up and just like, just waiting to just pop over the top off the littlest thing, because I'm full, because I'm not clearing myself out. So yeah, it's amazing to find ways of actually moving this energy. Healthy ways of using, because rage and anger is a power. Now, if it's not moved healthily, then it becomes toxic, and we see a lot of it in the world. And I had experience of it when I was in my childhood, which led me to my experience. So, coming back to your question, the gift of like masculinity and becoming masculine, I always say to them, if you really want to become more masculine, work with your feminine. So I see it as like this kind of scale of like, it doesn't, more masculine doesn't make me more masculine. It's actually allowing my feminine to feel safer, and to allowing her to have more space to be developed allows me to be more masculine, because there's less trying to prove myself or trying to get something from outside of me, because it's within. There's a gift there for sure. And that's why we work on the inner child as well, to allow these parts to feel safe and more alive. And why we work with the feminine. Yeah, and just last piece around this toxic masculinity. So rage is one way of being toxic masculine, but also there's stuff around power, competition, greed, and we see it all over the world. Like politicians, businesses, literally are raping the planet. They're digging up the planet and just taking iron ore, taking coal, taking minerals, and just turning it for a profit, or burning it into the environment and creating more pollution. And they're doing it for money and power, just taking. So you can see that this kind of, we call it dark masculine, but this energy of masculinity isn't really landed on a planetary level. That's why we're still doing the things we're doing. We don't need to be doing these things. We can have renewable energy, and there's many other ways of going around it. We're still chopping down the rainforest, turning over coin. Even though we're aware there's other ways of doing things, it's still happening. So on a personal level, we need to work with our own masculinity, and where are we toxic or unaware, and it still happens. I still do it myself, where I'm not 100% in alignment, as Graham's mentioned, always learning, expanding, and being humbled. But where can I make a difference to my environment, support other people around us, and us as a brotherhood, where we can make a difference, and hopefully this effect just keeps on going up and up and up.
Yeah, I think there's a question that comes up for me often around toxic or healthy, unhealthy, integrated, unintegrated, aware, unaware, masculine. For me, it's a question of responsibility. So if I'm on the outside always taking responsibility for other people, for example, then it's a good question about whether even that's necessary for me to do it, whether it's necessary for me to take responsibility for other people's feelings, other people's experiences. So the question for me then becomes an internal question of what on the outside can I take responsibility for on the inside? So then questions come to me around the feminine, for example, the feminine principle, the feminine energy that lives in me. If I'm always taking responsibility for the feelings of my partner, then I might be avoiding or making it her problem in some kind of way. And what I've noticed more and more in my relationships and my friendships is as soon as I take responsibility for my feelings, then actually I always step into an integrated and healthy version of my masculine energy. And the big trick I find with this is that often that means that I might need to cry, or I might need to share my sadness or my challenge with the way that somebody else, the way I'm perceiving that somebody else is behaving, but always from the perspective of this is my experience. Like, this is what I heard, this is what I felt, this is what I saw, so that we can actually understand the shared reality between the two of us rather than the blame game. Resentment is actually a great example of toxicity. I think it was Mandela said something along the lines of, it's like drinking the poison and then expecting your enemy to die or to get ill. It's like such a perfect encapsulation of actually what we could be doing, which is leaning into connection. So if we have a problem, and you and I have done this, if we have a problem with each other, say somebody spoke short or sharply to the other one, is that we actually hold space for what really wants to be expressed, what's not being expressed in that moment of conflict. So everything that we're doing all the time is somehow developing and strengthening these inner relationships, because we hold the polarity for each other to be able to drink the medicine that is actually needed, which is always an inside job. So we're constantly inviting people to come inside and do the work from the most authentic place that they have access to at that particular point in time.
And it's like this. So I love what you guys have shared around the context of the technologies or the models or the principles we work with in emergence. I'd love for you to share a little bit more around the arc or the journey of the initiation process and what someone who's never done any type of men's work could expect. And yeah, I'd love for you to share a little bit more around that.
Yeah, so we currently have two different kinds of retreats, so it's important to make a distinction. So one is very much about developing more of a healthy personal self. So the part of you that interacts with the day-to-day, maybe the part of you that goes to work, or the part of you that wakes up in the morning and has the to-do list, or the part of you that sort of feels a little bit shy about showing up in the world and getting things done. One of the retreats is really about building the foundations for that part of us, that more adapted part of us that's trying to meet the challenges of everyday reality, to stabilize that in a way where actually a slightly deeper part can start to come through and also participate in the game of life. And then the next retreat is the initiation journey, which is starting from the point where the light starts to really shine through. And we take that part on a very deep journey over 6 or 7 days, and it's moving through different archetypes, different layers of that particular being, and then eventually what we're doing is consistently inviting that human, that soul, to be in the group. And then when we get to a certain point of the journey, what's happened is that the group has landed. And it's a very clear moment in the training. I think it's always a very similar kind of to feeling, actually. It's something we observe, but it's something we feel first. And then when we get to that point, the group has cohered, it has become almost one living, breathing organism with its own nervous system, its own personality, its own soul. And from that point, really the magic begins to happen. And it would be unfair of me to explain that point, because I don't think my mind can necessarily comprehend it. But what I see when we get to the end is brothers who are in love. and they want to support one another on the outside, but support each other from a deeper place. So I've been in lots of collaborations in my life, but they didn't work out because personal selves were getting involved. Like, I want it this way, I want it that way. But when soul leads the decision making, it leads the relationships, then all of a sudden a kind of magical quality, which I believe is grounded in a kind of abundance, can start to flow. We can have conversations like this. We can set up all the camera equipment because there's life backing it. It's like it's a true energetic pulling up and pulling down from life. So we're being moved. This is what I see happening to men. They're being moved by life. So they're not being moved by, oh, well, that's how a man does it, or that's how Callum does it, that's how Gorby and Robbie does it. It's like we're actually getting out the way to be moved into collaboration, into connection with the planet. And what I see the brothers doing afterwards, it's remarkable. It's a new. I never thought I'd say this. It's a new paradigm. It's actually a completely different structure of a civilization. That it's like a cloud gets lifted, and all of a sudden you can meet reality on reality's terms. That's the highest and deepest and widest expression of what I experience as a result of being in this container with brothers like you.
I can give a bit more of a layman terms kind of transmission of that one, maybe. So, yeah, coming into these spaces, it can be antagonizing, I guess is a word. Like walking in and like not knowing a lot of the brothers there, and like what are we going to do? Like a week with other men, you know. So, really, we start by landing the group and coming together. Yeah, really setting the intentions, like just understanding like why we're there. What is, because Graham and I are like stewarding the ship, but really every initiation is very unique, with each unique constellation of brothers that say yes in that time. So there's a backbone of kind of things we want to delve into, but each time it's so different with what comes up from what pieces that people are bringing in from their experiences of life. So with this unique constellation, we drop in, we share what's our intentions are, what's live, why we're there, and then we go on this trajectory of landing different parts of our being. So we start with the animal and really embracing this part of us, which often has been kind of cut off because it's seen as less than. So by inviting the animal back in, by inviting in the emotional body. So we work with lots of different tools to allow how to express emotions, like healthy ways of bringing them and allowing them to be felt and expressed. We have this common language in them, which supports each other. You know, if we see something with each other, it's like, oh, have you tried this? You know, and we know that we've got these tools. We know we've got this language, so we can support each other. Graham and I like stewarding. We've got the brothers on the team. But really, we want to empower the brothers to support each other and call each other in when they're seeing stuff. And then we journey with the inner boy. There's some imprints that are given to us when we're young. And it's beautiful to allow them to be felt and shared. And the intention is to really collapse the story of the inner boy, whatever it is that's not allowing them to show up fully. So we give space to that. And then we rewrite it, and we allow the inner boy to express the story of how it wants it to be, rather than maybe how it was. To be attuned to the needs that's wanted, the missing experience of that little boy, to allow them to feel nourished and nurtured. And we also go into shame. Like, what's the things that we don't want to fucking bring into the space, brothers? Like, what is the piece which makes me so separate from all you because no one could have ever done fucking something like this in their life? We bring it into the circle. We invite it in. I don't want to give away too much, but at the same time, we delve into the heart. We really go into ceremony of heart and how it is to be together with brothers and without words as well. A lot of the stuff we do is around embodiment. So we might be guiding the space, but a lot of it's through embodied experiences which allow this cellular level rewriting. Because I know that cleverness is a gift, and it can also be a curse. So I'm very good at saying the right things at certain times. Am I even feeling it? So sometimes we drop the words in some of our rituals or some of our sessions, and we just journey through the body and allow it to rewrite us on this deeper level. And then we also drop into, as Graham mentioned, like different archetypes of different parts of masculinity and different parts of feminine. And we allow them space. And again, through different embodied experiences to be felt. Some of these experiences that we set up are so potent, powerful, and can feel such aliveness vibrating through my being that I then have a taste of this energy in me. So then when I'm out in the world and certain situations come up, I can call on this part which I have access to now and bring it in that moment, which might mean where I need to bring my sword out and be more masculine and say, no more fucking bullshit. And in the next moment, I might need to call on this feminine, this nurturing part, which I've now spent more time with and cultivate within me to bring that. So, you know, in every moment, there's all these different archetypal dances coming out. And before I started doing this work, I was so in my personality and so in my doing that I didn't even see these different perspectives on life. So having the capacity to zoom out of my own personal self where there's so much drama and trauma and blah, 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 and actually seeing a bigger picture of life is such a gift. So by exploring these different archetypes, we get the opportunity to feel how it feels, like this real felt sense of these different parts that live within me. We're letting them out of the cage. We're allowing them to be expressed in this space. And we're getting the transmission, or getting like a mirror from other brothers of their parts within. And often within a very short period of time, I could have had 5 or 6 different reflections of either this kind of sword masculine, the warrior, or dark masculine, however you want to call it. And also like the maiden, like the young feminine within all of us. And I've seen it of a few brothers, I can drink it in and allow what feels like is nurturing of me. And it also gives me a perspective of, oh, how far I've come. You know, because when I first introduced my inner feminine, she was barely a teenager. She was maybe 12 years old when I first kind of had this as a practice however many years ago. And now seeing that she's matured. You know, she doesn't mature in the same kind of linear time that I do as a human in this fleshy being. By giving her space and time, it's like much rapid evolution. And then we delve into soul purpose and really having some deeper inquiries and having our brothers to reflect on us. Why the fuck am I here? What is it that I really want to bring in the world? What do I stand for? And having brothers there who I can be a soundboard with and can give me reflections. And also seeing where the collaboration wants to come through. And that's one of the biggest pieces which turns me on around emergence, is having brothers who have been through this initiation portal, that have got this common language, that have been through these different gates, allowing more parts of us to come on board. And then what can we create together from that? I mean, even sat here now with you brothers, you know, I appreciate you today, calling us out, come on, we're doing this, you know, and what ripple effect will this have? Yeah, it might just be in this moment, in this time. What is this actually doing for us as a future, as emergence for a future, as all the other brothers that come into emergence? So pouring a love in, and this is one of the biggest parts around emergence, around doing this kind of soul work, is pouring yourselves in, not expecting anything in return. When we first started this, there was so much hours, months, years before there was any kind of return. You know, it's not even doing it for the return, but now it's almost just a reflection more than a return. It's not like a transactional kind of piece. It's more okay, this is kind of giving us a gauge of how well we're being received. How deeply am I doing the work myself? Because if I'm in the bullshit story of shiny outside external kind of, this is what we're doing, but I'm not doing it myself. It's felt, and no one comes. That's okay. That's like, okay, that's just a reflection. So like our last retreat, having 42 brothers come, it was just like, wow, you know, like there is something alive within emergence. By no means do I think it's me, it's emergence. It's what is constantly evolving as well. Each time we're doing it, there's, I'll say the word deeper, but different parts landing within the kind of core skeleton that is slivers through the syllabus or the kind of trajectory of emergence. So it's constantly evolving and expanding. So we go into purpose, and we also go into conflict, as I've mentioned, you know, like actually calling each other in and not doing this conflict like to sink someone or to make them wrong, but to like see it as an act of love. The greatest thing I can do for you right now is like say this part which is either holding you back, or this part which I want to water in you to bring out more. And this really revolutionized the way I looked at conflict. It's like sometimes we call it dark love, but that can be the most challenging thing to do for someone, because it's very easy just to pat them on the head and say, oh, it's okay, and keep going, and to actually say, you can do better. You know, you can really bring more of yourself. So there's a whole technology that we do around that, and we hold it in a way where it allows us to see the gift in that, and we can do this for each other. And then we get into money as well, and there's a very powerful experience. We work with money, which gives us a real opportunity to see what our relationship is with money. I mean, this is the thing around the whole container is, do we have the capacity to really see like how I am interacting with each and every one of these archetypes or energies, money, sexuality, power, conflict? Like how do I interact with them with the world, and how am I expanding, and what can I learn, and what do I want to change, or what can this other brother, the way he's holding that is, wow, it's a thank you, I'm drinking that one and I'll take in what I can. So this is just like a social experiment, on steroids for a week, where we bring in different energies, and we bring in and we really invoke different energies to allow us to like go on this experiment of like, what is it that I am doing with this being, which is whatever it is, in this case money. So that gives you a bit more of a kind of overview of some of the stuff that we're exploring, and really a lot of the magic is within the moments between the other beings, the other brothers on the journey. And there's these huge energies that we're invoking, which are like the pillars of the journey, but it's like what's happening relational, both externally and internally.
So we could sit here and talk all day. I could talk to both of you and you all day. But if there was one message you can share with the men listening to this, what would it be?
I just want to speak into something that I hear quite a lot, which is at some point I'll get around to doing men's work. So it's that kind of idea that ticking something off the box, or ticking the box, the bucket list, or whatever. And I just would say to those brothers that there's no time like now, because there will never be another time other than now. For me, this is essential work, and it is work too. You can't duck or dive or hide or go missing in these kinds of containers. So this is an opportunity for you to bring everything that you are and everything you're not, and to have it put in its right place so that you can actually go out into the world and make the kind of difference that you've been telling us that you want to make. Like, this is about walking the talk.
One message, to me, it would be around, you don't have to do it alone. And wherever you are in your journey with your brothers, there's always more depth, more connection, more openness, more collaboration. yeah, I'm deeply grateful to be sat here with you guys now, and just the ease and love that I feel my being for you. That's a gift within itself, without having to achieve anything. Just being able to sit and rest and feel the love is, yeah, absolutely beautiful for me.
Awesome.
Can you rephrase the question?
What's one thing you feel like expressing right now? Could be anything relating to this podcast.
Yeah, I think if I was completely clear and truthful, I would actually want to speak to me in 2014, me who felt trapped by their life circumstances, their job, their ambitions, making money, prestige, being seen, being noticed, but with such diminishing returns that it felt like there was nothing really left to experience. And how could I go on doing that for 20, 30 more years? Terrified of like not being able to survive. Is that this actually would and is the kind of place that would actually be able to support me to really open and unfold and discover what I actually want, rather than what other people wanted for me, or my idea of what other people wanted me to be and to do in the world. So I actually can become and be myself, unaffected by my circumstances or my story. And that for me is a priceless opportunity.
Yeah, I guess for me it would be like tinkering on the edge. Like the part of me that wants to do it but really doesn't want to do it. And yeah, this is just a push. A loving nudge in the back, brother. It's worth it. It's challenging. It's confronting. Being sat in a room full of other men. All those experiences I've had with other brothers where I've been let down, been betrayed. All the other times I've betrayed other brothers, I've let them down. It's going to surface up. It's going to be an opportunity to feel it. And it's going to be an opportunity to rewrite it and to stand for the way I want to be with other men. Because otherwise there's like all these skeletons in my closet, all these experiences which I haven't really moved through. And they still affect the lens that I'm seeing men with. So by coming in here, bringing it to the table, clearing it, allowing it to be witnessed only where I've fucked up, where I've let people down. And this willing and openness to do things differently. And this imprint that we give each other of different ways of doing it. That's the beauty of it, is tools and the experiences that we'll have will allow us to know there's another way and actually feel it, not talk about it, not be clever about it, but feel it through the body, using body experiences of how it can be to turn up differently in the world. And to be like, have a great awareness of where I am fucking up and where I'm still in my shadow and where I'm still learning. I'm still being challenged. And knowing it's a place where it's welcomed. And there's no kind of, we figured this shit out. It's like, we are working this out together, brothers. And that's a gift.
That's actually something that we didn't talk so much about, is that in the containers, we're also bringing what's alive for us, not to overwhelm, but to contribute if it feels alive for us as part of the experience. So we're very much part of the group. And as time goes on, depending on the container, we also start to let go a little bit of the control of the grasping, or the needing to direct too much, because the group has its own intelligence, which really starts to unfold. So we have a curriculum and we have a syllabus, and sometimes we stick to it more rigorously than others because there might be something in the field that is really alive for the group, and then we follow that, like we trust that impulse. So we're also very much part of the experience. We're being open and we're being vulnerable with you when we're also stepping in and stepping out of our roles too. And sometimes what happens is that men really emerge as kind of keepers of certain emotions and feelings and transmissions. So we also invite men to really step into the center and to be felt and to be seen as well.
Yeah, just off the back of that, there's a piece around us being in the field. I see emergence as alive. We're using words like syllabus and curriculum, but I guess it's like there's a rhythm that we're kind of holding, but or it's kind of guiding us, but we're really listening to the field. I say each time the container comes in, it's unique because the unique constellation of beings, whatever energies are invoked from our own experiences of life. And the deeper Graham and I can drop in and actually crack our own hearts open to each other and to the brothers who are in team around us, then that will filter down into the field, and it gives more permission, more spaciousness. And when we're doing it, then we're standing by the principles that we're talking around. We're not just like being clever and talking about it, and then we're the teachers, you're the participants. It's like we're in a field together, and that's felt, tangibly felt within the field. There's like this collapsing of hierarchy, and I know it's a dream because unconsciously these layers of power are still there, but the longing is to live in synarchy, where power is shared. And when we're in the container, then it's like a conductor. One person will be holding the lightning, like someone will come through something in the circle or in one of the rituals experiences, and they'll be alive. They'll be transmitting something because they're holding the energy. So this is what we encourage within the container, is to whoever's really live, and that might be on team, it might be Graham or I, or it might be one of the participants, whoever's got it, like the greatest gift you can do is bring it in the moment. And I know my experience when I first kind of came into these containers, I was terrified of like really getting in there and doing anything which wasn't measured and controlled and came through like in some kind of, because I was quite rigid and kind of like terrified of really expressing from an unintegrated or from a place that was just really live. And this is what we're calling in, is like bringing the aliveness of our being. This is the essence pouring forth. So yeah, there's this we do it slightly differently. We don't hold it. We are kind of stewards, and then seeing what really wants to come through.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say, just I love the analogy of being hit by the lightning, because also with the lightning comes the aftershock as well. So it hits everyone. And when you see for the first time that being yourself has an impact and affects other people, then you have connection, like true connection. And you connect, then people can feel you. People are always saying, I want to feel you, I want to be felt. Here you go, come in the middle. Show us you and let us feel you. And every single time, all I feel when I see somebody step in, get hit by the lightning and let it flow out, is that everyone is touched. Everyone, not one single person doesn't feel the ripple of the aftershock. So yeah, it's a real gift to actually be in charge, to be hit by the lightning, to be conducted by the lightning. And we don't do too much conducting ourselves. When the lightning comes, it takes care of itself.
Yeah, there's longing to be seen, to be heard, to be felt, and also this absolute terror. You asked me a great question. Was like, remember the first time you were vulnerable? And I was like, wow, overwhelming like terror. And it still happens now. And we talk around the aftermath of the being in the center and the lightning coming through. And it's the same with the vulnerabilities, like this vulnerability hangover of exposing this part, and then like the recoil of the expansion of like, wow, I actually really brought myself. And then this fear, and it's like this constant expansion and contraction as we unravel more parts of our soul, as we become more alive and more expressive. So it's a potent experiment that we're in, and I'm really grateful for us guys and all the team and all the participants that come through to have the courage to bring ourselves.
I love what you share, because it's this sense with something like meditation. It's about bringing your attention and your awareness back, so it drifts off. But with the heart, it's actually about keeping it open. So when we come in, we open our hearts, we share what we have to share from that seat. The vulnerability hangover comes in, but the more we step in, eventually it's just open. There's no contraction. And that for me is the same journey with the mind as with the heart. It's just staying open. And really, this for me is about resonance. And that's why I think I love Emergence Brotherhood. It's the resonance. It's the resonance I have with all of you, but also with Emergence Brotherhood itself. If it were like a thing, actually a tangible thing that we could grab hold of, but it really is, in a sense, it has its own spirit, its own soul. It really is very distinct, and I love opening my heart to it.
Beautiful, brothers. That was a long one thing.
I
could feel
the second win.
Yeah, I felt the passion in your shares though so much. Yeah, what a beautiful share. And yeah, that was a lot just in how long we've been going, like an hour and a half. So for those listening in, if you've got like anything, you're starting to feel alive, you're feeling things moving through you through an hour and a half thing over a screen, imagine what it's going to be like when you come and spend 7 whole days like in a container. I'm sure you can begin to imagine the level of shifts that can happen. Everyone feel complete?
Yeah, I feel complete.
Appreciate you for holding this. Yeah, pleasure.
And you as well.
That's a wrap.
So
First podcast complete.
Yay.
Thank you.